June 25, 2009, at 2:26 p.m., one of the most famous American singers and songwriters, dancer and philanthropist, Michael Joseph Jackson, known as the King of Pop, died of cardiac arrest due to acute poisoning with illegal drugs at his residence on North Carlwood Boulevard in the Beverly Hills area of Los Angeles, has passed away. The Los Angeles coroner declared his death a homicide.
Daddy has been the best father you could ever imagine. And I just wanted to say I love him. So much.
Before his death, Michael Jackson was preparing for a comeback concert series called This Is It before her death. This concert series was dubbed the world's greatest comeback. He planned to make a strong return to the music field with these concerts. Initially, the number of these concerts was 10, but in the end, Michael, who had become financially vulnerable, was pressured by the tour founders and agreed to perform 50 concerts. All 1 million tickets were sold about 3 months before his death, and in just one day. However, behind the scenes, Michael was facing immense pressures. He was severely suffering from insomnia and had become dependent on strong drugs to help him sleep. According to Michael's brother, Jermaine Jackson, and one of Michael's doctors who testified at Michael's murder trial in 2011, Michael suffered from severe insomnia due to the intense pressure of work during the tour. Michael's sudden death raised many suspicions because he was performing intense rehearsals on the Staples Center stage for his concerts just 12 hours before his death. It was rumored that Michael's death was due to excessive drug use, but the Los Angeles coroner explained after Michael's autopsy that there was no trace of drugs or narcotics such as Demerol, morphine, marijuana, cocaine, antidepressant pills, and alcoholic beverages in Michael's body. The coroner added that there were only a few sedatives, including the powerful anesthetic drug propofol, in Michael's body. Michael Jackson's child abuse allegations. In 1993, Michael Jackson faced serious allegations near one of his concert tours. Evan Chandler, father of Jordan Chandler, requested $20 million from Michael to make his film, but was rejected. He then threatened Michael that he would spread allegations against him if he did not give him the money. However, Michael did not accept his request. These allegations led to Michael Jackson's severe addiction to sedatives. Jordan Chandler, 2 days after Michael Jackson's death, announced that Michael had never sexually abused him and that he was forced to tell these lies by his father. In 2003, Jackson was molested by Gavin Arvizo, a 13-year-old boy with cancer who spent several months with his family at Norland Ranch for treatment. Unlike in 1993, these events led to the holding of a court called People v. Jackson. The trial lasted for 5 months until the end of May 2005. During the trial, the musician once again suffered from stress-related illnesses and lost a lot of weight. He also became dependent on morphine and Pectin drugs. In June, Jackson was acquitted of all charges. Jackson. Description of the incident. On June 24, 2009, at 6:30 p.m., Michael Jackson arrived at the Staples Center in Los Angeles to start rehearsals for his This Is It concerts. People present at the Staples Center described Michael as lively and energetic. Ed Alonzo, a famous Mexican-American actor, comedian, and magician who was one of the last people to see Michael Jackson before his death, told reporters, Michael arrived at the Staples Center yesterday at around 6:30 p.m. for rehearsal. He joked a little about his sore throat with others and started his vocal practice around 9 p.m. He seemed great, had a lot of energy, and the rehearsals continued late into the night. Michael then returned home to sleep, but he never woke up the next day. According to Michael's personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, he went to Michael's bedroom on June 25th and found him not breathing. Michael's pulse was weak, and his body was still warm. Murray tried for 5 to 10 minutes to revive Michael, but was unsuccessful. He then tried to call 911 for help, but there were no phones available in the house. Murray further explained that he did not use his cell phone because he did not know the exact address of Michael's residence. Murray also contacted Michael's security officers but received no response from them. Eventually, Murray went downstairs and called for help, asking the cook to bring the security guards to Michael's room. By the time the security guards called 911, 30 minutes had passed since Murray found Michael unresponsive on his bed. In a report published on June 26, 2009, it was revealed that Conrad Murray, a cardiologist, performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, on the bed. Murray also placed one hand behind Michael and the other on his chest to perform the CPR. However, CPR is only effective when the person performing the massage has both hands on the patient's chest and the patient is on a hard surface like the ground. The Los Angeles Fire Department received a call at 12 hours 21 minutes and 4 seconds p.m. local time and found Michael not breathing on his bed at 12:26 p.m. Rescuers performed CPR on Michael at his home for 42 minutes before transferring him to the hospital. Murray's lawyer explained that Michael's body had a heartbeat when it was moved from his house to the ambulance. However, the Los Angeles Fire Department rescuers who went to Michael's house explained that Michael was in full cardiac arrest when they arrived, and there was no change in his condition during the trip to the hospital. The ambulance arrived at the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center at 1:14 p.m. A specialized medical team at the hospital continued CPR for about another hour, but they were unsuccessful. And finally, at 2:26 p.m., Michael Jackson's death at the age of 50 was officially announced. Michael Jackson's health condition before death. Biographer Stacey Brown explains that Jackson had become very weak and underweight. Biographer and journalist J. Randy Taraborelli, a friend of Michael Jackson since the 70s, says that Jackson was suffering from addiction to sedative painkillers that he had been using since the child abuse allegations in 1993. Jackson's dermatologist Arnold Klein confirmed that Michael Jackson was overusing the drugs he prescribed for lupus. However, Klein said that Michael was physically and mentally well when he visited my clinic 3 days before his death. He even danced for my other patients. Cherilyn Lee, a nutritionist who had worked with Michael Jackson's team, said that he had requested her to provide him with propofol, explaining that his doctor assured him it was safe and only for sleep regulation, a request that Cherilyn had rejected. She also said that on July 21st, despite no longer working with Michael Jackson's team, one of Michael's assistants called her and said, "Michael's condition has worsened. One side of his body is cold and the other side is hot." She had asked them to immediately take Michael to the hospital. Jackson's medical records show that during his lifetime, none of his hospital visits showed any signs of drug or medication addiction. Also, Dr. Christopher Rogers from the coroner's office described Michael's health condition before his death as relatively excellent for a middle-aged man, and said that his heart was completely healthy. In the toxicology test conducted by the coroner's office, none of the drugs Demerol, morphine, marijuana, and cocaine were found in Michael's body. Antidepressant pills and even alcoholic beverages were not found in his blood. The coroner stated that only a few sedatives and the powerful anesthetic drug propofol were in Michael's body. Autopsy. Michael Jackson's body was transported by helicopter from the Ronald Reagan Medical Center to the Los Angeles Coroner's Office in Lincoln Heights for further examination and autopsy. His initial autopsy was scheduled for Friday, June 26th, and took 3 hours. However, due to the suddenness of Michael's death and the ambiguity of its cause, the Jackson family requested a second autopsy. After the completion of the initial autopsy, Craig Harvey, the senior investigator of the coroner's office, reported that there were no signs of criminal actions on Michael's body. The final results of the autopsy took 8 weeks after the toxicology test. On August 28, 2009, 2 months after Jackson's death, the Los Angeles Coroner's Office officially labeled Michael Jackson's death as homicide. The coroner announced that a combination of a powerful anesthetic drug and several sedatives named propofol, midazolam, lorazepam, diazepam, Valium, lidocaine, ephedrine were found in Jackson's body, and the main cause of death was poisoning from a lethal dose of propofol, which was intensified by several powerful sedatives. Medical experts say the combination of these drugs has a synergistic effect. On October 1st, 2009, BBC reported that the coroner declared Michael's body to be relatively healthy for a man of his age, and also said that his heart was strong. According to this report from the coroner, the most significant health problem Michael Jackson had was chronic inflammation in his lungs, which had no involvement in his death. The coroner's office is keeping the full autopsy report confidential at the request of the police and judicial investigator. After the announcement of Michael Jackson's cause of death, the lawyers of the doctor accused of involuntary manslaughter claimed that Michael had committed suicide by taking propofol. However, propofol is an intravenous drug and must be injected into a vein to take effect. If swallowed, it is quickly expelled. In the 2011 trial for Michael Jackson's murder, Murray's lawyers stated that the claim of Michael's suicide was nothing more than a lie, and they knew it from the beginning. Some members of the Jackson family, such as Catherine and LaToya, and Michael's ex-wife, Lisa Marie Presley, said that Michael had repeatedly told them that he would be murdered to seize his multi-million-dollar catalog. In 2011, a court in Los Angeles, USA, found Conrad Murray, Jackson's personal doctor, guilty of Jackson's death and sentenced him to 4 years in prison. Dr. Murray had prescribed a drug to Michael Jackson that should never be used as a sleep aid. Moreover, after injecting such a dangerous drug into Michael Jackson, Murray left him alone to attend to his personal and private affairs. When Murray realized the severe and near-death condition of Michael Jackson, he refrained from contacting the emergency medical team for a long time. In fact, Michael Jackson, who had entrusted his life to Dr. Murray, died due to his negligence. During the same trial, the doctor's lawyers tried to falsely blame Jackson's death on Jackson himself or his previous doctors, which turned out to be a conspiracy by Dr. Murray's lawyers. Toxicology tests on Jackson's body reported no addiction, and none of the experts who testified in Murray's trial identified him as a drug addict. The trial of Dr. Conrad Murray for the involuntary manslaughter of Michael Jackson began on September 27, 2011, and ended on November 3, 2011, after 6 weeks and 23 sessions. The court verdict was announced on November 7, 2011, and Conrad Murray was found guilty in the death of Michael Jackson. His medical license has now been revoked. The sentencing hearing for Conrad Murray was held on November 29, 2011, and he was sentenced to 4 years in state prisons. After serving half of his sentence due to good behavior, he was pardoned and released. Prosecutor's hypothesis. The prosecutor's hypothesis was that Conrad Murray had grossly failed in his duties towards his patient. They listed instances of negligence. Conrad Murray purchased several liters of propofol to treat Michael Jackson's insomnia, and after several hours of injecting various sedatives, he finally injected the powerful anesthetic propofol into Michael and then left him alone to go to the bathroom and use his phone. Propofol is not a treatment for insomnia and is only used for long-term surgical procedures to anesthetize the patient. The injection of propofol is only done by an anesthesiologist in a hospital, and the patient's vital signs must be continuously monitored by a doctor. When Conrad Murray realized Michael's poor condition, instead of helping him and performing CPR, he started collecting drug bottles and cleaning up the scene. Conrad Murray asked Michael's security officer to help him collect drug bottles instead of calling an ambulance. Once Conrad Murray had collected the drugs, he began to perform artificial respiration and cardiac massage on the bed where Michael was sleeping. CPR is only effective if the patient is placed on a hard surface like the ground. A 30-minute delay in calling the 911 emergency center. Conrad Murray called the emergency room 30 minutes after realizing that Michael was not breathing and had no heartbeat. When the 911 emergency doctors arrived, Conrad Murray remained silent in response to the emergency doctor's questions about the cause of Michael's cardiac arrest and the drugs he had given him, and said nothing about injecting propofol. Jackson's funeral ceremony was held at 7 p.m. on September 3rd at Forest Lawn Cemetery in West Los Angeles. Initially, the plan was to bury him on August 29th, coinciding with his 51st birthday. In this private ceremony, 200 members of Jackson's family and close friends, including Elizabeth Taylor and Lisa Marie Presley, were present. The ceremony began with his children placing a golden crown on Michael Jackson's coffin. The cost of this private ceremony and his mausoleum was $1 million. The ceremony was held outdoors under tight security measures, and security officers prevented reporters and Jackson's fans from getting close to the ceremony site. For this reason, the ceremony was not broadcast on television. The ceremony was supposed to be held at 2 a.m. Greenwich time, but started almost an hour late. The delay was due to the late arrival of the Jackson family, who were traveling in a caravan of 31 vehicles to the ceremony site. After the ceremony began, Michael Jackson's brothers, Randy, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon, took his gold-plated coffin out of the hearse and placed it on a platform. All 5 brothers wore black suits, pinned red roses to their chests, and wore red ties. They also wore a single white sequined glove in memory of their brother. Marlon, Michael's brother, told People magazine that all 3 of Michael's children wrote letters to their father, which were buried with him along with a sequined glove. The letters read, "Daddy, we love you. We miss you." Officials at Forest Lawn say that since the Jackson family announced they had chosen this cemetery for Michael's burial, public interest in burying loved ones there has increased. The cemetery officials are experienced in providing security for famous deceased. Michael's mausoleum is out of public reach and inaccessible. Despite some rumor-mongering news agencies describing Jackson's burial as Islamic, it was not. Before Jackson's death, there were false rumors about this famous artist converting to Islam. Although this rumor was neither confirmed nor denied by Jackson himself, his brother Jermaine Jackson refuted it after Michael's death. Jackson's sudden death sparked global emotions and widespread mourning around the world, as well as an unprecedented internet outage in most countries. The day after Michael's death, the U.S. Congress, composed of representatives and senators, stood in silence for a minute out of respect for him. In a statement, they expressed condolences for his death and added, "We thank God for allowing us to live in a time and place where Michael Jackson lived." The news of Michael Jackson's death received extensive coverage. The websites of the Los Angeles Times and TMZ went down for a while due to the influx of users. Google was inaccessible for half an hour due to a massive user rush, and search for the word Michael Jackson, suspecting a DOS attack. Twitter and Wikipedia websites also had problems due to the massive influx of users. According to Noam Cohen's report in the New York Times, shortly after confirming Jackson's death, his Wikipedia biography page had nearly 1 million visitors within an hour. Jay Walsh, a spokesperson for the Wikimedia Foundation in San Francisco, said at the time, "We believe this is the most views of any article in Wikipedia history in a 1-hour period." The news of Michael's death was the main headline in media around the world for a long time. Official news agencies reported at least 12 suicides following this event. Many famous figures such as Nelson Mandela, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Madonna, and Steven Spielberg called his death devastating. VH1, a television network, called Jackson's death the most shocking moment in music industry history. On July 7, 2009, and 12 days after Jackson's death, a memorial service was held in the Staples Center, where Jackson had been rehearsing for his concerts 2 days before his death. Over 2 million people attended, only a small portion of whom were able to participate. The ceremony was broadcast live on television networks, and over 1 billion people watched it, making it one of the most watched television programs in history. In 2010, it was announced that Michael, with a profit of $275 million in 1 year after his death, was the highest-earning deceased person in the world. This was while Elvis Presley, who was next in rank after Michael, had only earned $60 million. He's also the best-selling deceased artist in the world. 5 months after Michael's death, a musical and concert documentary of what he had done on the rehearsal stage, just 2 days before his death, was released in cinemas and became the best-selling documentary in history. From Nelson Mandela, who described Michael's loss as a loss for the world, to Barack Obama and the mayor of Rio de Janeiro, South Koreans, Filipino children, Yemenis, Budapest residents, and even fans in Turkey who held an Islamic memorial service for him. All those who once heard Michael say, "Every day we hear about nations hurting each other, neighbors harming each other, families tormenting each other, and children killing each other. We must learn to live and love each other before it's too late. We must put an end to this situation. We must stop discrimination and stop living in fear of our neighbors." From Odessa to Brussels and other cities around the world, Michael's fans held their memorial gatherings, and the U.S. House of Representatives observed a moment of silence in his honor. In Japan, where Jackson had a status similar to a deity and icon, the senior government spokesperson and other ministers expressed their condolences. Yasukazu Hamada, the defense minister, told reporters that Jackson had given credibility to a generation with his music. He was a superstar. This is a very tragic loss, but it's extraordinary that he was able to give so many dreams and great hope to people around the world. In England, the spokesperson for Prime Minister Gordon Brown said, This is very sad news for millions of Michael Jackson fans in England and around the world. Russian fans gathered outside the US Embassy in Moscow to mourn. French Culture Minister Frédéric Mitterrand said, "We all have a Michael Jackson." Elizabeth Taylor, Jackson's close and longtime friend, said she could not imagine life without Michael. A day after Jackson's passing, the mayor of Rio de Janeiro announced that the city would erect a statue of him. Jackson visited the city in 1996 and filmed the music video for "They Don't Care About Us There." The mayor said that Jackson had helped the community become a model for social development. His work in music and dance, alongside his personal life, made him one of the most famous public figures in the world for 4 decades, so much so that he is considered one of the most influential cultural figures of the 20th century. After Michael Jackson's death, the music world and his fans around the globe mourned him. He remains a memory of one of the greatest artists in music history, and his impact on music and culture is still visible decades after his death. In the end, after all the ups and downs, songs and dances, tears and smiles, the story of Michael Jackson's life came to a permanent close with this sentence from his family statement: "Our son, brother, and father of 3 beloved children has left us in a tragic and unexpected way." Thank you for staying with us until the end of the video. Please share your comments and experiences with us.